Okay. All right. So it's really good to be back. Thank you so much for joining again on the topic of relationships. Still lots to talk about. Keeps coming up. All these things keep coming up. And today the topic is um, selfish or self love. And we've touched on this a little bit in some of our previous conversations on these Zoom classes. But today I want to go even deeper into it. There's a huge stigma to making choices that seemingly are for ourselves. And especially when it comes to our relationships, we can be up against all kinds of blocks that actually prevent us from living our heart's truth. And I'm going to be sharing some examples of choices that I've made recently, quite big choices. Some of you already know, and some of you will be new to these sharings, so that you can understand how important it is to choose your heart's truth in a relationship, how difficult it can be and why. And also, I'm going to take you through a little guided visualization, guided meditation to help you figure out what your heart's truth is, because there are so many blocks in the way from being able to choose the heart's truth that we just kind of like don't know sometimes even what it is. And that's quite important, right? We really do need to know. And there's a lot to say, but I'm going to bring it down into the usual three key eye openers. But first of all, it's coming through. I was going to share it later, but it's coming through to share this with you now. I've been watching a series on Netflix called Firefly Lane. It's rather a lovely story about two girls who meet very seemingly opposite characters and they become really good friends, and it's their sort of stories as how they grow up together. And at one point last night, in the episode I was watching last night, one of them shares this, and I want to share it now. It's just coming through to share it with you now, because there's so much that we lose out on when we don't choose our heart's truth. And actually, I'm going to go further and say there is so much, and you'll understand more about why this works as well and how this works. There is also so much that others lose out on when we don't choose our heart's truth. This is a very, very important aspect of how we live our lives, not just relationships, but everything actually. If we can come into a place where we are choosing our heart's truth for every single decision we make, I'll share exactly what that means later on in my little secret at the end. It's going to change your lives forever, literally. But there's a process to get there, and there's a peeling away of the layers. But this is the quote that came up. I was just watching an episode last night, and one of the girls who are these two best friends, one of the girlfriends, she says, I watched my own mother wither away under the weight of people's expectations, sacrificing what she wanted for everyone else. And I'm not going to set that example for my daughter. And I thought, wow, that's so pertinent to what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow. So here I am quoting it. And I think it's really nice to hear a quote like that, because it's also important, like I said, for others, especially our children. Our children, if for those of you who are parents on the call who may be parents in the future, it's so important that mum and dad are choosing their heart's truth. Because then what are we doing really? We're living a lie. We're living a lie. We don't even realize sometimes that we're living a lie, but we're not living authentically. And our children can kind of feel that. And it destabilizes them. Yeah. And so can our partners. Our partners can feel when we're not choosing our heart's truth. And it creates a kind of confusion, a blurriness. And the truth kind of like gets blurred. And in the end, sometimes we don't even know who we're in a relationship with because we're not in our truth. So let's take the plunge into key eye opener one and just have a look more closely at what is heart's truth. Just take a moment. I'm just going to take a moment with you just to just go quietly inside of yourselves. What is heart's truth? How do I experience heart's truth? Yes, I can understand it maybe intellectually. I can figure out and I can find words to describe heart's truth. But what we're really looking for to be able to really engage in the heart's truth is a sensation, an experience. So just don't worry if you don't know the answers to this just yet. Just open up that energy of yours to receiving these answers today, perhaps in this session and also following the session. Ask yourself the real question: what is heart's truth? Take a deep breath into it. Exhale, soften the body. Take a deep breath into the heart. What is heart's truth? Soften into the answers. A lot of the time we shoot straight up into our minds. I'm going to figure it out. A bit like we do at school, right? Because school is so academic. I got to figure it out and I got to give the right word answer. I'm not looking for that today necessarily, although I'd love you to share. But what I'm hoping for you today to be able to do is to start to get a sensation of heart's truth, which is actually a beautiful sensation and one that I hope that we can experience more and more and more and more every day of our lives repeatedly and live in that space. Would anyone like to share? I'd like to open up the chat now and ask you if any of you would like to share just your ideas and your sensations of what heart's truth is for you. No right nor wrong here, it's simply what it is for you. Sandra, have you got any ideas you'd like to kick
I
us
think
off?
that heart's truth to
Oh, Yin
me,
Chan's right there. Let's go
that
with Yin Chan.
it feels right. It's basically with clear intent. It's authentic. It's honest. It's freeing. It just comes naturally.
Yes, that's so beautiful. Yes, so many key words there. Authentic. It feels good. It's natural. Yeah, it comes naturally. I can't remember the other ones now, but there were some key words there that are really beautiful. It's actually innate in us to know our heart's truth. So what I'm doing today is I'm just reminding you of something that is very, as you say, Yen Chan, natural. The problem is we kind of forgot because we spent so much time up in our heads figuring out our lives, choosing from this space. But we're not connected to the whole of our beings when we just choose from our minds. Not to discount the mind is amazing and it can help. It can help you actually figure out how to do it. But ideally, the best place to start is the heart. Ah, yes, that innate knowing. And then the mind kicks in to help you make that innate knowing real for you. Yeah, that's ideally the kind of sequence that we want here, rather than first in the mind and then in the heart, or sometimes never even in the heart, because the mind has a big hold on us. Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks, Yen Chan. That's lovely. Sandra, have you got any ideas? Anything else you want to add to what Yen Chan shared?
I think my own version of definition is a bit different from Yen Chan, but then there's still some elements that she mentioned earlier. So my own definition, uh, I think it derived maybe from my pain also.
Mm.
Um, it's like the freedom to live the life that a person want without letting their soul chip away. So that's like
Without
the
letting the soul chip away.
yeah.
Interesting. Yes, I can hear that the description comes from your pain, the pain of
Yeah.
not living your heart's truth, right? I can feel it right now. Good on you.
Yeah.
That's so vulnerable and so beautiful. Look, I'm tearing up already. Yes, that's the expense. That's what we're up against. That's the cost of not choosing our heart's truth. And that is the importance of addressing this. Let's address this today. Let's look at it and let's practice it. I'd like to invite you to practice this daily with the smallest of choices. So start with the smallest of choices and then you build up as you get better and better at it. And actually, once you start tuning into the heart's truth and choosing from this space, it gets exponentially easier. Why? Because actually it's natural to us. As Yen Chan said, it's totally natural. It's just we need to remember how to do that and we need to remember to do it. So that's beautiful. Thank you very much for your sharings. They're lovely. I'm going to share what heart's truth is for me to add to your beautiful sharings, to give us a fuller spectrum, a fuller idea of this, and hopefully help you open up and notice it when it's happening. So, your heart's truth is what you intuitively know is best for you. You just intuitively know it. We don't know sometimes where our intuition comes from, but you know those moments when you just say, I know, and somebody says, well, how do you know? And you just say, I don't know, I just know. It's that kind of knowing. I just know. We all have an innate sense of knowing what is right for us. And we've got so very sort of into our minds that that natural innate sense feels almost far-fetched and wrong at times. Yeah, because we've been so busy calculating the formula of how to live my life up here that I forgot to just, you know what, I just kind of like know. No, you can't know. I got to figure it out. Yeah, we're going to deal with that in a bit, the blocks to heart's truth. Yeah, but it is an innate knowing. That's the first thing I'd like to say. It's also when you choose from the heart, when you choose your heart's truth, it's what love would do. It's what love would do, what I would do for myself that's most loving for myself. It's an act of self love. What would love do for me right now? Yeah. What choice of love would I do right now? It could be a meal, it could be a restaurant to go to, it could be a book to read. I'm going to invite you today, and I'd like you to put this up as a little invitation. I can see that Sandra's got lots of post-its on her wall. Write a post-it out and say, choose heart's truth. And do that for the simplest little things, like what book to read next. Yeah. Sometimes you'll find that you're already doing it. Yeah. Because you just innately know that a book that I want to read that book next. For the easy decisions, it can come quite easily. For the bigger ones that involve more emotions and all of that, and perhaps other people, it can get a bit tricky. So practice with those small things first, and just bring awareness. You probably are already doing it, for example, for what book to read next or what Netflix series to choose next or something. You're probably already doing it, but I want you to feel into that process when you're doing it, yeah, and just become more and more aware so that when it comes to the bigger decisions, you're right there and you know that your heart is where you need to go, and then the mind maybe to figure out how to apply your heart's truth into a reality. Mm-hmm. Your heart's truth is your quickest way to happiness. It's the quickest way to happiness, but it doesn't always look that way. And we'll look at this in a moment because of our conditioning. We've been so deeply conditioned, and I want to address this today, that when we choose our heart's truth or want to choose our heart's truth, we don't feel that it's the right way even, because it looks so different to what the mind is telling you and perhaps what others are telling you. How often have you been in a place where you just feel that that's right for you, but your parents, and this is a big one when you're in discussion with your parents, because they have such a huge influence on most of us, yeah, it can actually divert you away from your heart's truth very easily into a space of something else that would, it's not wrong. The other path isn't wrong. Let's get this right. You'll always end up, in your heart's truth eventually, because the heart's got a strong pull on us. So rest assured, you will always get where you want to go. You will always get what you want and what you need, because the heart will pull you there one way or another, even if it's the long way around. But if you're able and have the awareness to choose your heart's truth, it's a quicker path, but it doesn't necessarily look that way, because not just other people may have other opinions, but because sometimes it may take you somewhere where you are right in your fear. Your heart may take you right out of your comfort zone to somewhere where you're going to experience a greater degree of fear than perhaps if you'd chosen to go where the mind is telling you. But if you overcome that fear and live through that experience successfully, which the chances are you will, yeah, bingo, you're right where you need to be. Whereas here you're still going along the sort of lesser degree of fear. That's too frightening to go there, so I'm going to go here because I'm not ready for this. And that's fine. And, you know, it's still fine. But this is the quickest way. Your heart's truth is going to get you there more quickly. So, how to recognize the heart's truth when it's at work, yeah? It's a movement of love. It's a movement of self-love. It's an expansion of the heart space. It's an inner knowing, as we said. The innate sense of something that is right for us, even though there may be more fear and unexpected experiences from that choice. It's just an innate knowing that that's where I need to go. It's an expanding and quite exciting. Can you feel the sort of rumbling of excitements that's present when you choose your heart's truth, or when you're considering choosing your heart's truth? There's a rumbling of excitement and a kind of feeling of enlightenment in a way. Yes, bingo, light bulb, that's it. But it feels a bit scary, but yeah, and it's different to everything else that I would have perhaps chosen if I'd gone down, you know, the conditioned route, let's say. But that just feels so right for me. Yeah. There's a kind of inner thrill. And it's very personal. It's a very intimate experience that you're having with yourself when you choose your heart's truth. It feels so good. So now that I've given you a bit of a description on the heart's truth and how it feels to choose the heart's truth, I'd like you to cast your mind back maybe to this morning or yesterday or last week, or further back to a moment where you can remember, and you may or may not remember, so don't worry if you can't, a moment where you absolutely chose your heart's truth, where you were absolutely sure that I chose my heart's truth over and above all anything else. Just see if you can just take a moment of self-reflection and just cast your mind back to a time, and it could have been a really big decision, or it could have been a simple thing. Maybe it could be something like choosing a book, or a meal, or a restaurant to go to, and you were just sure of it. I will also share mine. Just have a moment to see if you can remember a time in your life, perhaps with a particular partner or a parent or a child, where you chose your heart's truth. Now, the chances are there's going to be lots and lots of them. But when we cast our mind back to remember them with this new knowledge and understanding of what the heart's truth is, we're going to have to look a little bit. Think of perhaps a simple example of something quite easy, a simple, easy choice. And then think perhaps of a choice that was a bit more difficult to take. And if you can't do that, then see if you can bring awareness to a time when you wanted to choose your heart's truth, or were about to, but didn't. Sometimes we can remember those as well. And if any of you would like to share a simple decision or a big decision, I'd love to hear. Yen Chan, have there been any moments perhaps in your homeschooling of your son that you've taken a heart's truth decision to do something, even though it may have gone against the grain, you know, up here in the mind? Or something else you'd like to share? I'm just thinking perhaps you did.
The example of the homeschooling, that's an interesting one. I think with the heart's truth for that, so I don't know whether or not that's come from the head, but sometimes I think to myself, when my boy's having a tantrum and I see how upset he is, I've got to basically take a step back and just kind of not to back down, but it's almost if just to keep the peace and just to feel how he's feeling, the frustration and you know, the anger and, you know, the stress and stuff. And I feel like I just, you know, instead of me ranting and shouting at him, I feel like I feel into that, and then I try and calm him down. And I just want him to be happy. So yeah, otherwise, if I used my head, it'd be very much like, you know what, just sort it out. You can do this. You know, we can get through this. You're being a child, and sometimes I forget that he is a child.
Yes.
And because he's an only child, it's very much, you know, he's having to go up fast around me. So yeah, I think it's very much like, you know, kind of just, yeah, I don't have a proper answer. I think it's very, you know, that is a subconscious thing. I think when I see him upset, yeah, and then I just give him a hug. I just, you know, just smother him with love, just to calm him down.
That's beautiful. Yes, and I do feel that that is a heart's truth choice. Yeah, the mind's choice might say, no, 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 we've got to do this. And I fall into that trap sometimes in homeschooling with my daughter because I feel the pressure and there's an assignment that has to be handed in and da 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 da. So I push. But my heart's truth is saying, drop it all and go and run around the garden. So there's an example of when I didn't choose my heart's truth. Yeah. But yet, Yen-Chan, your example is, you know what? Let's just take a moment out, have a moment of love. Here I am. I'm here for you. Just, you know, soothe him, cuddle him, rather than push more. That's definitely a heart's truth choice. I feel that very much. It's a lovely sharing. Thank you, Yen-Chan. Sandra, do you have any heart's truth choices that you remember you've taken in the recent past or in the distant past that you'd like to share?
I actually try to like recall the recent one, but like I think I really try my best, but I just couldn't. So like um I only can recall like the distant past.
That's fine.
So I realized like even doing this exercise, it makes me realize a few things. Um okay. So maybe I share like the distant past and also I share my realization.
Yes, yes, I'd love
So
to hear.
yeah, so the distant past that I feel like I've I've done it like really right. It was almost 10 years ago. Like wow, that's really long, right? So I remember it was that time when my dad kept saying it was like a impulsive suggestion from him. He just came back from Australia from a business trip, and then he actually went and visit my auntie, my grand aunt, and they were just saying like, "Oh, I think it's good for your kids to actually do their higher education in Australia." So my dad just dropped the idea. I didn't really feel right, but I just felt like, okay, since there's this opportunity, why not I just go? And I realized making that decision and being away from home for about like 6.5 years. Whatever you just shared earlier, right? As in, if someone living their heart truth, this is what they going to experience and feel. I take all that. I mean I've experienced all that, and
You mean the fears and the difficulties? Because it's not necessarily the sort of smoothest ride. Sometimes it comes with, you know, challenges as well. Heart's truth is not just like a bed full of roses. I can sit back and relax. And, you know, sometimes it takes you right into your fear, actually. Is that what you're referring to?
yeah, it's definitely a fear for me because it's something unknown, right? And
Yes.
I felt like I have to restart my life again. I don't know what to expect. Knowing different culture is a big move also in life, I feel. And especially that time I'm like young adult, but I feel like when a person actually living their heart truth, no matter how challenging it is, um like what you said, there's one point you said is the fastest way to happiness. I felt
Yes.
that because the whole time I felt there's challenges for sure, but I feel like the whole time my heart is singing. But then after that 6.5 year, I couldn't get the visa. I have to come back, and I just now I the realization that I got, because my heart truth is so far back about 10 years. I don't know whether I should feel sad, or I don't know whether I should feel sad or not, because I haven't experienced any hard truth like recently, or maybe it's just too insignificant that I'm not grateful for it, or I'm not aware about it. But yeah, so that is the realization that I have, that wow, like my heart truth, like I haven't been living my heart truth for a long time.
Okay, you make some lovely and very valid points. And I just want to interject here because it's coming through to be very gentle on yourselves. We have forgotten how to do this. And it may be, and it's very likely, Sandra, and for anyone on the call, that you are practicing your heart's truth, but you're very natural at it for a lot of things in your life, those sort of more easy decisions, and perhaps need to practice a bit more for the big ones. So always be gentle on yourself. What's the point of, you know, being hard on ourselves if we haven't practiced what we realize that perhaps now we could practice more of? Yeah. It's just an awareness that we bring to it. Go, okay, yeah, maybe I haven't done enough of this, so I'm going to start doing more. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing else to it. There's no, I should feel sad about this. There's no shoulds in feeling anyway. You feel this way or that. Okay, I'm realizing this, yeah. And this is a good learning, yeah, because you've got sort of something to weigh it up against and notice when you do start choosing your heart's truth more often, you can see how different it is to what you've been doing more recently, yeah. Or perhaps how similar it is if then you realize, actually, I'm kind of natural at this, yeah. So be gentle, be very gentle. Beautiful. Thank you both so much. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to share as well because I think, Yen-Chan, you may have heard me mention this briefly in one or two of our gatherings in the past on Zoom, but I want to share it again, and I want to go a little bit deeper into the importance of this. I'm talking to you from England, as Yen-Chan already knows. Sandra, you may or may not know, very chintzy English curtains in the background. And my husband, the father of my daughter, is in Malaysia. And I chose from my heart's truth was to actually come to England for a bit. And it was just, I kept waking up with this yearning to just be in this lovely green surrounding. It's surrounded by lovely countryside. And I just needed to be with Mother Nature here. I wanted to come home and be with my parents for a bit. I knew I had some healing to do. I wasn't very conscious of all of these decisions, other than simply I wanted to be in this area, in this lovely countryside. That was the real pull. And actually, I had been wanting this for a long, long time, years, years, years. I had been married to my husband for nearly 11 years. And for a very great number of those years, I had been yearning to come home, but I'd been denying myself the heart's truth because I thought that I should do, notice the should, be careful with the word should. I should stay by my husband's side and walk with him. He has many obligations in Malaysia, not least a special needs son, so who needs supervision. And of course, my husband has to be present for him on and off throughout the weeks. And it was just something that I felt I should do, or thought rather that I should do. Notice the difference, feeling and thinking. I thought, and eventually when you think it enough, you're going to feel that you should walk by your husband's side. And I did for many, many years. But the problem with not choosing your heart's truth, and this is one of the costs, is that in the long term, you can get sadder and sadder and more frustrated. The frustration turns into anger, the anger turns into blame, and the sadness turns into depression. This is the cost. And I've been there. And in the end, when it came to September last year, I was strangely, I'd had a process of coming to terms a little bit with being in Malaysia. I thought, okay, I'm here. I just must fully accept it. And I went through the process of totally surrendering to the existing reality as it was and accepting it. And I started to receive the gifts of all the lovely things that I've experienced in Malaysia as well, because we've made lovely friends and things. And I felt okay for a few weeks. And then the burning heart's truth kept popping up again. And I'd wake up and see this countryside and my parents' home and this wish, this yearning to be here. So in the end, I booked a flight and I've come here with my daughter, which is a very was a very difficult decision to take because I was effectively splitting up the family temporarily. This is not me leaving my husband because we have issues. It's me simply choosing my heart's truth. But the blocks were up against me for the longest time because I felt, because of societal conditioning, that I should stand by my husband's side and live in the country that he needs to be in. Yeah, and this is what we do. Yeah, hence the quote that I quoted to you from the movie Fireflies Lane. A woman, and men do this as well. We make sacrifices, yeah, for the family's expectations of us, yeah. And there's a happy medium. You have to find your own happy medium, and you have to find the right timing for these things. But I would say that it's absolutely crucial not to shelve your heart's truth. Because what's the point of having a depressed mummy? You see, I was depressed and I was angry. That anger turned into blame. And I was actually, because I hadn't chosen my heart's truth, I was driving a wedge between myself and my husband, making him the reason why I was in Malaysia, blaming him, making him wrong, yeah, and really, really ruining my relationship with him. And also, of course, who else is suffering? My daughter, because mummy's not happy. Then daddy's not happy because he's on the receiving end of mummy's blame and frustration. I have a huge responsibility. We all do, to choose our heart's truth, no matter what it looks like to others. Yeah. When I chose my heart's truth, I was going to come to this later, but I'll share this now as it's coming through. One of our neighbors simply could not understand why I was going to the other side of the world with my daughter and so seemingly leaving my husband. But my husband and I have an incredibly good relationship, and we talked about it, and he knew and could feel that it was my heart's truth. And he's a very loving husband. He loves us very much. And both he and I understood that this was for our highest good. And I'm going to come to this in a little bit in this session. It was for our highest good, even though it looks like the opposite, because I'm going to the other side of the world. Initially, it was going to be for a few months, and he was going to join us at Christmas. We moved here in September, but of course, with COVID, he hasn't been able to come. But even if he had been able to come, the chances are he would have come for maybe a couple of weeks or 3 weeks and then gone back to Malaysia because his duties are there. So I'm going to elaborate on this choice that I've made in a little while when we come to key eye opener number 2 and number 3. But just to say that that is a heart's truth that I chose. And not many people choose this in their relationships because they feel, as I did, that they're joined at the hip to their husbands or wives, spouses, and that they must do it this way, the way society dictates. You've married him, you should do as you're told. You should be a good wife, a good mother, and stick by your family and keep your family together. Because of course I ran the risk of bringing my daughter here, of her being away from her dad. And she's missed him a lot. So I've had to go through moments where she's had some meltdowns and really missed daddy. But even with that, I still could feel that innate knowing inside of me that this was the right choice to make. And that it's okay to miss daddy. Actually, it's better than okay. It's good to miss daddy. And it's good for me to miss him too. And it's good for him to miss us. Missing isn't necessarily a negative, right? So there's so many gifts that have come from this, and I'm going to share this in a moment, yeah? But just to say, that's an example of quite a difficult heart's truth choice to make, but one that has already, in fact, immediately has enhanced my relationship with my husband enormously. And this is something quite new, and that I'd like to invite you to just remember. When you ever feel like you're in a relationship and you're doing all the shoulds perfectly well, and you can pat yourself on the back, oh, I'm such a good girl because I'm doing everything the way it's expected of me. But inside there's a calling. And it takes great courage to follow through on that. Great courage, because it looks like the odds are against you. And this neighbor of ours, he simply couldn't understand it. And when it came to I had a leaving party because I wanted to say goodbye to my friends in the condo where we lived and everything. And he didn't want to come. he said to my husband, he said, Terry, I don't know why I would be celebrating your wife's leaving party, because he didn't understand it. He thought I was just leaving my husband and separation, goodbye, good riddance, which is absolutely the opposite of what I was doing. My heart's truth was telling me loud and clear that this is what we need. This is what our relationship needs. This is what I need. Even though on the other, to others outside of us, it looks like Rosamond's left her husband. Not at all. We are more intimate, more respectful of each other, more loving of each other now on the other side of the world. Yes, we miss each other and we'll be together again whenever COVID allows. But for the now, we are fine. We are better because the frustrations, anger, and blame, they went up in smoke the minute I booked my flight, because I was choosing my truth instead of blaming somebody else for keeping me here, which is not really what they were doing. I just didn't have the courage to choose my heart's truth. Yeah. The depression, it's gone. This is really important. Okay, so now that we've shared a little bit what heart's truths look like, what they feel like, I want to share with you why it is so difficult to choose them. And we've already touched on it a little bit. There are some very clear blocks, and I'm only going to be able to share a few of you because there are hundreds of blocks. But with a little bit of awareness of what heart's truth really is, perhaps those blocks can just sort of dissipate and we can just have more clarity and choose the heart. Yeah. So it's because of our conditioning a lot of the time that we feel we should, look out for the word should, do what so-and-so expects of me, my parents, yeah. How many times have you perhaps wanted to choose a course or a degree at university and your parents are like, I think you should do this or that, yeah. There are so many families that have those experiences. And it's very, very difficult to choose your heart's truth when you feel, when you're young especially, that your parents know better than you, yeah. That's a big one, yeah. So when we are on the receiving end of expectations from society, from neighbors, friends, spouses, yeah. I could have been married to somebody who didn't understand that actually going to live in England for a bit was like not good for us. I could have been in a situation like that, would have made it even more difficult, but I would have still chosen my heart's truth. And it may have been the end of my relationship with that person. I so happen to be in a marriage and in a relationship with a man who understands me and loves me enough to let me go and do this for a bit. But even if I was in a relationship with a man who didn't love me enough and who expected me to walk by his side, if I did all of that, I would just be a wreck if my heart's truth is calling me somewhere else. Maybe it is my heart's truth to be by his side, but in my case, it wasn't. Yeah. So it does make it difficult if you're on the receiving end of other people's expectations. So watch out for those moments where you feel like you should be doing something or should be behaving in a certain way or shouldn't. Both apply. Should and shouldn't, those feelings. I'm doing something because, I feel I should. Yeah, that's a big one. So, of course, as you've heard me say, the cost of not choosing your heart's truth is prolonged unhappiness and perhaps the deterioration of your relationship. Yeah. Perhaps you have an opportunity to enhance your relationship by choosing your heart's truth, even though it may not look like it. So it takes great courage. We're talking about relationships today. So this is really looking inside of our relationships. Where am I not being utterly authentic? Where am I not choosing my heart's truth? Where am I choosing to do what I feel I should do to keep him or her happy or them happy? Where am I doing this in sacrifice of my own joy and happiness because this is expected of me as a parent? Very important questions to ask yourself. So here are some of the blocks to the heart's truth, to choosing your heart's truth that I've listed. And of course there are more, but these are the ones that came through. The first one is, I can't choose my heart's truth because it's selfish. Sometimes it looks like you're just doing it for me and not for the other, and they're not even part of the equation. We're going to look at this more deeply in a little while, but what's wrong with doing it for me in the first place? Yeah. When the expense of not doing it, of not choosing my heart's truth, could be that just everybody goes under. Yeah. Can look selfish. To my neighbor, it looked utterly selfish that I was taking my daughter away from my husband to the other side of the world for an indefinite period of time. He just couldn't get his head around it. It was like, that's cruel, even, and selfish. But is it really? And I'm going to show you why in a moment, why it isn't at all selfish. When the heart chooses something, it's never selfish because the heart chooses love, and love ain't selfish. It's self-love. Remember the title of the topic, selfish or self-love. We're talking about self-love. When you choose your heart's truth, it is not selfish. It is an act of self-love. Sometimes, and it depends on the situation, here's another block that came up, and this is actually one that I had to face. If I choose my heart's truth, I may lose what I cherish most, because I thought, and it did cross my mind, and this is one of the things that held me back from doing so long. And my husband, that's a big one for me because I love my husband. So sometimes when you're choosing your heart's truth, you feel like there's something to lose. Now, I would like to rephrase that and say that perhaps when you choose your heart's truth, there may be a reshuffling of things in life. Things may sort of reshuffle themselves and sort of settle and show themselves to you in a different way. But I would like to say loud and clear here that there's nothing to lose and a lot to gain. And consider the changes that come when you choose your heart's truth, not as a loss, as something lost, but as a simple reshuffling. Yeah. And yes, maybe it is the end of a relationship, but is that a loss when you've gained your heart's truth, when you're doing something that you really wanted to do for so long, or, that your heart wants you to do, that your heart wants you to experience? Actually, what's lost is when we don't choose our heart's truth. Yeah, that's the loss. Another block to heart's truth that we've touched on already slightly. I must do as I am told. I must do what is expected of me. I should. I can't do that, my heart's truth, because I should do this. I can't go, let's take a simple example of, I can't go out with my friends tonight, yeah, which is your heart's truth, because I should stay home and do my homework. That's a difficult one for a child to weigh up on. And I would say to any parent or future parent on the call, watch out. Is there a happy medium? Is there a balance somewhere that allows for the child to have their heart's truth? Yeah. This is sometimes there's a sort of weighing up of things. There's a little negotiation. There's a little, a bit of everything maybe. It's the intuition that knows best. It's the heart that knows best. And as a mother, I would want my child to go out and play. And she can do her homework maybe before or after or tomorrow, or depending on the scenario and when the assignment is due. Yeah. But it would be in my heart's truth. I know this already now, even when the circumstances happen, to most likely let her go. Having said that now, maybe it is in my heart's truth to say, actually do your homework. I don't know that, but it could be either or, yeah? But it's your heart's truth. Maybe it would be in my heart's truth to let her choose, most likely. She'd be old enough, responsible enough. If she's already going out with friends in the evening, she's probably old enough to choose her heart's truth. What's your heart's truth? To hand in the assignment late and go out with your friends? Or to hand in the assignment and maybe have a shorter spell with your friends or see them another day? That's actually probably what I would do, thinking about it. In my heart. Because I love her, I've let her choose her heart's truth. And that's my heart's truth, to let her choose, yeah, rather than impose myself on her. Just a few examples, yeah. This is a big one. This is a big block to the heart's truth. My heart's truth is wrong. It can't be. It can't be the right thing to do. It can't be the right choice because it looks like the opposite of what anybody would do in a situation like this. It's the opposite of what my mind is telling me. It can't be right. This is a big block. We don't trust our heart. And when you start to practice your heart's truth, you will come to trust it more because we're not familiar with it. Trust is really just a sort of lack of familiarity. You can't trust something that you don't know, right? So the more you practice it, the more you come to know your heart's truth, the easier it'll be to trust it. And then you'll just know it. So there is a little process. But at this point in time, if we're not familiar with using our heart's truth for decisions and choosing our heart's truth, it looks like the opposite of what I would normally do. But there's a pull, there's a pull, there's a knowing, but can't be right. And there's a battle between the mind and the heart. And how often do we just choose the mind instead of the heart? Because the heart looks like it's calling you to do something off the wall, wild, mad. Doesn't look right. So be on the lookout for that as well. There are times when the heart does call you to do strange things. There's an example that's coming to my mind, so I'll share it with you actually, which was somebody who was sharing it with me about, again, a discussion on heart's truth. There was a person I know, a friend from a group of friends, who had a real heart's truth to go and play his guitar on the steps to a hotel in a city, wherever he was. I can't remember which hotel, but it was a fairly big hotel. So he just took his guitar and sat on the steps of this fairly big hotel and just sort of strummed away, just playing his music and singing along. And out of the hotel comes a girl who goes right on. I said, "Oh my God, you're playing my favorite song." He was playing her absolute favorite song. And she sat down with him. She sang along with him. They became very good friends. And she's actually now part of a healing group that I belong to that has helped me in so many ways, helped me know my heart's truth as well. So I'm actually sharing what I've learned with them. Yeah. And they share that example. And it's like, how random is it to sort of like feel your heart's call to go and sort of like sit on the steps of a hotel and play your guitar? It's quite random, right? Your heart may call you to do quite odd things, but be alert to the expanded feeling inside your heart of it, the sort of inner knowing that, yeah, even though this looks completely crazy, it kind of feels right despite that. The only reason why it looks crazy is because of societal conditioning, let's face it. Because nothing's really crazy. There's all kinds of things that exist on the planet, but it's only crazy if it's judged as out of the norm. And so you may find yourself, dancing a jig on a beach or by a pool or in a town square and meet the love of your life. Who knows, So be on the lookout for sort of callings to slightly unusual things. It doesn't always play it out normally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to reiterate, my heart's wrong. The mind makes more sense. The mind's pathways and choices may make more sense. They may look more reasonable, yeah. But the heart just, it's just got to pull you in that direction that just feels more like a heart opening, like an expansion, yeah. And the other block to heart's truth is, I don't know my heart's truth. I don't know my heart's truth. How can I know my heart's truth? The answer is practice. We forgot. Yeah, for many of us, we forgot. Or even in those moments when you were naturally doing it, you've mentioned things on the call that you're doing, that you may be doing from the heart's truth, but you're not even aware of it. So today I want to bring awareness to it so that you can perhaps notice that you are, and then practice more for those small things and the big things as well. Here's another one, another block to heart's truth. When the heart's truth calls you to something that just looks so glorious and happy and like, oh, wow, like whatever, it could be a a holiday in Greece or wherever it is, or a new partner or something, and perhaps you're already in a relationship but your heart's calling you to somebody else. How many have experienced that, right? Yeah, but it can't be right, because life's all about suffering and pain. There is a little bit of a subconscious belief that a lot of us carry, that although academically and in our heads we know that we should be happy, we're so used to experiencing pain and suffering that we choose the path of pain and suffering rather than the one of joy. That can actually be a block to heart's truth as well. So be aware. No, I should stick with this person even though it's painful and suffering. Oh, no, I can't go on that holiday. I should just work, and stick to this and be miserable. A lot of us have chosen, pathways that have brought a lot of suffering, and we're very almost addicted to suffering and pain. Just be aware of that, yeah? And give yourselves permission to choose joy. Sometimes it's as simple as just making a choice, right? And being aware. Okay, so those are just a few blocks to heart's truth that I'd like to share. This was key eye opener number 2, by the way, to be aware of. And then there are many others that will come up specific to the circumstances in which you're choosing your heart's truth from. Yeah. For example, for me, I'm going to lose my husband. I'm going to make my daughter miserable. I'm going to be miserable. What am I doing? I could be ending this relationship. What if he meets somebody else? So specific to the situation, there's going to be a lot. So allow them to just be beliefs. Beliefs are not necessarily reality. In fact, they're not reality. They're just something that you believe is real. Yeah. So if you're sort of caught up, in a block to your heart's truth by thinking that all these things might happen, number one, they haven't happened. They may or may not happen. We don't know. But if you latch onto them as if they are going to happen and that they're real because you've chosen your heart's truth, you may never choose your heart's truth, because they could be presenting themselves to you as beliefs that involve great risk or loss. Yeah, like they were for me, and they held me back for years to the point where I nearly did lose my husband. And I was losing my daughter as well, because I was so unhappy that she wasn't happy either. Nobody was happy. We were all going down that slippery slope together. What's the point of that? It does take courage, and it takes awareness. Yeah. Watch out for those beliefs. Watch out for those blocks, and just look at them as beliefs. Okay, that hasn't really happened. It's not a reality. It may or may not. But my heart's truth is telling me to go to, Hawaii. Maybe I'll go and explore Hawaii. See what comes. Okay, so that's key eye opener number 2. And in key eye opener number 3, I want to share with you why it's not selfish to choose your heart's truth. On the contrary, seriously, on the contrary, it is self-love. It's an act of love. And I would go so far as to say that it's not just an act of self-love, it's an act of love for everyone concerned. Very important, very important. It's not just an act of self-love, it's an act of love for all of those involved and concerned that this will affect. And here's why. When you are choosing your heart's truth, you are choosing the highest divine path. I've written it down here. What we have in common is our hearts. What separates us is our mind. Yeah. When you choose love, it's like love is loving everybody. You're like loving everybody, even though it may look on the surface like a selfish act. It's so far, 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 it's the opposite of that. Yeah. When you're choosing the highest divine flow, the highest choice of love, you're actually choosing that for everyone concerned as well, because it's in the heart that we come together. It's in the heart that we have everything in common. And it's in the mind that we separate ourselves out and we live inauthentically a lot of the time. So what we think is right for us is also right for our families, from our heart's truth. Yeah, what we feel in our heart's truth is right for us is also right for your families and for everybody concerned. What we feel intuitively in our heart is right for everyone, even though it may not look like it on the surface. So when you're choosing your highest truth, your heart's truth, you're actually choosing for the highest good of all. Yeah, you're walking a path of love, of self-love. That puts everybody else in their truth as well. Even though they may not like it at first, they may fight you for it. You may be up against a bit of resistance here, let's face it. Luckily, I wasn't, but I could have been married, like I said, to somebody who just didn't understand that this is what I needed to do for myself. Luckily, I was married to somebody who supported me in my choice. But you may be up against that, yeah. So to them, it may look like a selfish act. But please know now that it's the opposite. When you choose from your heart has the same truth as your partner's heart. Your heart has the same truth as your parents' hearts and your children's hearts. It may not play itself out in that way, but when you choose, for example, the heart's truth to go and study abroad, yeah, your parents will be missing you. Yeah, they may not want you to go. Yeah, but actually in their hearts, they're joyous for you. Yeah, so it is their heart's truth as well. My heart's truth is your heart's truth, because the heart has such deep understanding and knowing of how to live life, and to live life in the happiest ways, to choose the happiest path. Yeah, and it knows that for everybody. Your happiest path is also the happiest path for everybody else. It doesn't exclude them. Even if it does mean that there may be a relationship breakup, you'll probably find that you will find somebody else and be much happier with them, and so will your ex-partner. Yeah. So it's not cruel, it's not selfish. It's self-love and love. It's actually a gift. It's actually a huge gift of love. But we don't see it like that. So we block ourselves from choosing it. We think we should do what's right. Yeah. It's a very courageous choice. It's a very courageous choice. And that it may look very selfish on the surface to others, even to you. But it's a courageous act of love for all concerned. It puts everybody in their truth. If I choose my truth, imagine sort of everybody else is shuffled into their truth. They may not like the journey there, but eventually they'll look back and go, gosh, if they're able to connect the dots, they'll see what joy eventually comes from all of this. They may go on a roller coaster to get there. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is only your choice, your heart's truth choice. But it does put everybody else in their truth. If you're living inauthentically, if you're not living according to your heart's truth, you're living a lie. Remember, we said this earlier in the conversation. You're living a lie, which means everybody else is. Everybody else could be a lot happier. Yeah. So we have a big responsibility, not just unto ourselves, but unto others. When I'm choosing my heart's truth, I'm choosing the highest divine flow. I'm choosing what life and love would naturally do. And life and love don't just love me, they love everybody else in the equation as well. Of course, we're all equal, right? So everybody gets to benefit, actually, in the end, eventually, or maybe immediately, We don't know about their paths and we don't know what they're going to go on. Yeah. But we just know that this is right for me. This is what I need. So I'm going to share some examples now, just to sort of really bring this home, because as you know, I took a big decision and a very difficult one. But I want to share how it really is not just an act of self-love, but an act of love. Since I've been away, my husband has had a chance to really focus on his work and bring some projects into his life that he's really enjoying. He's also had a chance to spend some really important quality time with his daughter. He's got 3 children from his first marriage, one of them special needs, and he's got 2 others, one who lives in Singapore and his daughter Mariam, who lives in Malaysia in KL. And whilst I've been away, they've been able to spend quality time together and heal old wounds that occurred when the separation from his ex-wife happened and the family split up. There has never been a chance for that to happen because I've always been around, and she didn't really feel that, the energy was right for her to have those necessary conversations with her dad, where they cried and cried and cried and held each other because there were many years of separation. Whilst I've been away, my husband has had a chance to have that important healing with his daughter. And this is very important for him to be able to move on in his life as well. When you heal old wounds, you lighten your load, yeah? You clear out the pain and you have more clarity and drive and vision for your life. And so does she, his daughter. So that's just one gift. The other gift is that I've had enormous amounts of time to heal my childhood wounds because I'm here at home with my parents. And I've also had a lot of time to bond with my daughter. And the penny dropped only about a month ago when we've been bonding a lot through homeschooling, even though there've been ups and downs. But overall, she's beginning to really realize that I'm right there for her. Yeah, and I wasn't there for her or able to be there for her in Malaysia because I was in so much pain. I wasn't emotionally available. Now I am. And my daughter needed me badly. Mommy's back. And she's feeling it, and we are really good together right now. We've bonded so much. I play with her. We play all kinds of board games. We play tag in the garden. We're homeschooling together. Yes, we have the odd hiccup, but that's parenting for you. Eventually there'll be none. I'm much, much better inside because I'm able to do all of my healing. And so in my own right, I'm more available emotionally for her. The other gift is that I'm no longer blaming my husband. So my relationship with my husband is a whole lot better. And when we reunite, it's going to be tears of joy. I can't wait. None of us can wait. But we're okay with the status quo. We fully accept things as they are. And that's another thing that perhaps we can address another time. It's a very beautiful place to be. Fully accepting, totally surrendering, total abandon to what is one of the most freeing experiences. So instead of resisting and fighting whatever's going on in life, it is what it is. And in that, joy and freedom can spring up to the surface. I'm trying to think of some more. There's so many of them, but of course there's the gift of me being with my parents and them enjoying our company. And they would be alone during these COVID times and lockdown. They would have been alone. If I hadn't chosen my heart's truth, and here's a big one actually that I'm actually just beginning to realize now. If I hadn't chosen my heart's truth to come here, I had no idea about the lockdown in England or anything then, of course, because there was an open corridor to come here and we weren't in lockdown in September. We've gone into lockdown since just before Christmas. If I hadn't been here with my daughter, my parents would have been on their own during lockdown. Not so nice. They're 84 and 77. I wouldn't have wanted that for them. They've got us. We watch movies together, we play Monopoly together, we do just simple things, but we're together. We have meals together. They're much more joyous with me here than with me over there and them in lockdown here, right? So there's another gift. And to tell you the truth, the gifts are quite simply unlimited. They are unlimited. The heart's truth choice opens up such a divine flow of unfolding experiences for everybody, that the gifts are unlimited. Because the repercussions of my husband being in a better space with his daughter means he's got a lifted load off his shoulders and feels better in his relationship with her and more able to get on with his life, and perhaps finds it easier to just have another family, me and my daughter namely. Likewise for her, she's feeling the healing, she's had the healing, so she can be better in her relationships with other men. It has unlimited repercussions. And when she marries, because she's healed her pain with her dad, because she had the space to do it because I wasn't around, yeah, she can be a better mum and a better wife, a happier parent and a happier spouse. Do you see? It just goes on and on. Do you see the beauty in this? Do you see the importance in this? And how limiting it is to not choose the heart's truth. This is so important, isn't it? All right. So would anybody like to share, now that I've shared mine, any gifts that you've seen that might have come from those heart's truth experiences that you named earlier, or maybe others that have popped up since I've been sharing? Yeah, anything, any gifts that you could see, perhaps Sandra, from being in Australia? I'm sure there's lots and lots and lots. It would have transformed you, right?
I think for me when yeah, I think when I was like there, I was just genuinely happy and I grow as a person. And like living the hard truth, like I'm just one person living the hard truth, but because I think my parents and my sibling can see it, it just ripples, it's like a ripples effect. So I feel like my parents feel that their job is done as a parent, because um I think
That's a good
all
thing.
the parents, what they want is they want their, yeah, they want their child to be happy at the end of the day, right? And it's something that you cannot teach. It has to come from them. and and also like I can see how it reciprocate as well, like because I'm happy, then my dad is happy, and it makes me happy
Exactly.
seeing my dad happy.
How beautiful is that? You've now got a happy dynamic in that relationship.
Yeah, so
I rest my case on this.
it's exactly like it's exactly like what you shared earlier, like because you're happy and then your husband is happy, and then it gives some healthy space for the daughter to actually heal. It actually affects generation as well, where um I think that is like really really important, because it breaks the cycle, right?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely. Everybody wins, basically. Sorry, you're getting the internet connection is a little bit pixely and laggy, and I'm just wondering whether it's me. Can you hear me correctly? Can you both hear me?
yeah, I think the internet from my side. Yeah, maybe I just switch off my video for a bit.
Yes, you've
Yeah,
made a nice
I can
comment.
hear you
Yeah.
well.
Okay, dear. Okay, I'm just looking at your comment on the group chat. It affects the generation. Absolutely. And on and on and on. Everything that we do
Mm.
actually has an unlimited effect on everything and everyone. Tell you the truth, there's just never a point where that ripple effect stops. That's how energy works, actually. So there is a huge responsibility not to be weighed down by it. You don't have to be weighed down by that idea. On the contrary, you can be uplifted by it by going, well, if I choose my heart's truth, this is this amazing ripple effect, and I'm actually coming to this. I'm ahead of myself. I wanted to sort of keep this as my little secret, but yeah, it is like that. Yes, beautiful. And
Mm.
Yen Chan, my love, when I'm just wondering if you can bring awareness, and you probably already know, to the gifts that come from choosing your heart's truth, of just simply holding your son when he's having a tantrum and not pushing him and putting more pressure on him to do his homeschooling, but to just, you know what, it's all right. Let's just have a big hug and a hot chocolate or something and take a break, or, instead of pushing and pushing, which would be what perhaps the mind would think we would do because we think we should do it, right? Did you notice any gifts, sweetie, from that choice?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually related to a lot of the things that you said. Even when you spoke about your relationship with Terry, um, what I went through. So my heart's truth back in 2018 was telling me that you spoke about kind of, being stuck in something and, depression and upset and stuff. And I'd been there. I had been there. And I've shared this many times, where I was in a relationship for over 7 years, 7 year itch, just had, Bobby was 5 years old at the time, and things weren't going well at all. And it was more his side than it was mine. And, there was a lot of frustration, anger, um, and it was just chaotic. He just brought so much chaos into my life. It was crazy. I'd never felt anything like that. Yeah, and I had never been propelled into, feelings like, anxiety, slight depression,
Yeah.
frustration, anger, and all that. And it's because, he is how he is. And I tried. It wasn't about me pleading with him. I wanted change so bad, but I couldn't change him. And I think that was what I was
Yes.
trying to do at the time. But you know what? I mean, those is, the decision to basically walk away. Um, enough was enough, and that came. And yeah, to be fair, a lot of things. I was taking notes, and I feel like kind of, I've got my independence back. I mean, it's 2011, 2021 now, but this is back in March 2018, and I feel that, I was at the time I was just existing. that my that, that now I'm more emotion, like you said, being more emotionally there for your child. I feel like I'm that for Bobby. I feel like I've grown as a person. I'm a better mum, better daughter, sister,
Yay.
friend.
I've got to get
It
my
has
hands
made
out of
me
my pocket to just go, yay! So
um,
amazing. And this is a huge pat on the back and a proper good self-loving pat on the back, Yen Chan and Sandra. These are really good things to be aware of.
but it's also kind of recognizing just, for me, I'm not afraid to ask for help if I need it. And I think I don't know whether or not I saw it as a sign of weakness, just to ask for help, or I just felt like I could do everything myself. But it's okay to basically ask, if and when you need it, or even just have a basic conversation with somebody. That I'm not alone. I've got good people around me, just recognizing that as well. Um,
Yes,
so
it could be
yeah,
your
just
heart's truth to just ask for help. By the way, we
yeah,
talked about
absolutely.
asking in the last Monday's session on give and receive. I address asking as key eye opener number 3 in that session. So if you want to have a look and watch the replay, it might help you because it opens up a whole new dimension to asking actually, and how beautiful it is. It's actually a gift to ask for help. And I explain why in last week's session. But yes, it could be heart's truth to ask for help, couldn't it? Yes, Inja, sorry.
No, no, and the last thing really you turned around and said, at the cost of what? For me, it was
This is
very much the cost of my health and well-being. Um, you know, going through all those feelings I had never experienced before, being propelled into the unknown, and not for the better, to be fair. So that was quite challenging. So it's interesting, kind of, if that's what the universe threw at me to go through, go through life's lessons, so be it. So I've got through it. So yeah, that those the heart's truth did tell me that, look, I'm not getting anywhere. I need to go. And and my son's fine. My son's fine. I'm fine. I've been a lot happier. I don't
exactly.
even sweat the small stuff. And yeah, but I
Yeah.
just yeah,
We
I don't know what to
worry
say. I
about.
don't Yeah, I don't want to say it's unfortunate what happened, but it's one of those
No,
things.
it's not.
I completely understand that.
It just happened.
Yeah, it just happened. It had to
Just
happen, and I had to grow up, and I had to go through these life's lessons, and got through the other side. So yeah.
You've come a long, long way. I think it's very important just to interject here. It's not quite on the subject, but to just understand and learn to see all of us, including me, because I forget this at times, to see experiences simply as experiences, as rich experiences, as intense experiences, but not right or wrong experiences. The minute we go said, "Oh God, that was a disaster," divorce can be a success. My brother's going through divorce finally because he kind of like knew. He's another example actually of somebody who held back on his heart's truth for 15 years. he ended up in a relationship with somebody, and he's had children with her. He's got 3 boys, and his heart was telling him to leave from very early on, but they had children, and he thought, I've got to stick to this for my children, and it just went so badly pear-shaped that now he's going through a very ugly divorce. And if only he'd chosen his heart's truth earlier. I just want to share an example, because I know that we've shared some examples of heart's truth, but there are some people who find themselves in much trickier situations than the ones I was in, or perhaps you choosing to go to Australia for education is kind of a nice choice in a way. But there are some women and men who find themselves in the most appalling situations, and it's even more difficult for them to choose their heart's truth. I would still say that in those situations, choose your heart's truth. I want to take the example of, for example, a mother of 3 young children, and she's fed up. This is just a theoretical example, yeah? Fed up, can't do this anymore, need to just fly free. I just need to fly free. And this would involve her, leaving the children for a while, yeah? And I would still say to that mother, go ahead with your heart's truth. Even though it means her not seeing the children for a period of time, or I mean, who knows how long? How long is a piece of string? You don't know what her heart's truth is exactly, or where it would lead her. But if she becomes so miserable that she is so resentful of being a mother, she's going to damage those children, yeah, and her relationship with her husband if she's married, yeah. So these are very tricky decisions to take. But there are always ways, I would say to that mother, where she could perhaps find help, make sure that the children aren't just abandoned in the street. Of course, you're not going to do that. We're not going to just abuse other people and harm other people. Whilst choosing our heart's truth, we're not going to harm everybody in our way and just bulldoze our way out into our heart's truth. That's not heart's truth. That's not heart's truth. We have to find ways of making heart's truth happen at the right time and in the right ways, yeah. So that's when the mind comes and it goes, oh, perhaps I can call so and so and the children can stay with her for a bit, or whatever it is. There are always solutions to every problem. And my daughter was saying to me yesterday, that's why it's a problem, mummy, because it has a solution. And I was like, yeah, exactly. A problem is defined by its solution, isn't it? There's always solution. There's always ways we can do these things, even though it looks like the odds are against us, to choose our heart's truth. But I would still say to that mother, choose your heart's truth. There are people who find themselves in the most appallingly abusive situations, and they might get beaten or hurt if they choose their heart's truth to get a job, for example, or leave, And however tricky they are, there are always ways out of that situation and into your heart's truth. And I'm one of the lucky ones that didn't have such a difficult thing to do, but I know that there are people in very, very tricky scenarios. But I still say to them, your heart's truth counts, because your happiness counts, because your well-being counts, yeah. And maybe that mother would leave for a temporary period and feel so liberated that she would then return to her children and her family, or maybe not. But I would say to you that there is a great danger in holding back from your heart's truth. We've talked about this already today. But in this particular example, let's say that the mother, early on when she has her children, sort of begins to feel the need for me time, for doing a job or having a career or something. But she held back on that truth, held back on that truth, held back on that truth, to the point where she's so can't do this anymore, that it's quite extreme. Her heart's truth has become quite extreme, a quite extreme choice. Whereas if she hadn't held herself back from that heart's truth, maybe it would have just simply been that she'd had a job, a part-time job, and the children were looked after by somebody while she was out living her dream, her career or something. Or it might have been a full-time job. Yeah, and if she hadn't had money at the time, maybe there's a friend or a family member that can look after the children. So yeah, we don't want to hold back on our heart's truth to the point where it gets so extreme and so difficult to take that decision that it's almost, almost impossible, and the odds are really stacked against us. I would still say choose your heart's truth, but it's of course easier when you choose it when it surfaces. Okay, I've had 3 children, they're very young, but I just still want to have my career. I want to go out and heal the world or teach relationships or whatever it is, yeah. And so you find ways in which you can do that, yeah. So very important. So I'd just like to invite you, let me just see the time. We're at 2. Are you still okay for another 15 to 20 minutes? because I would like to actually spend some time showing you how we can just sink into our heart's truth. I'd like to invite you to just think of a decision. Let's just take a sort of not tiny decision like what book to read, because that's a little bit easy, but maybe something a little bit bigger for you, maybe a choice to make about a person, or that involves maybe somebody else, a job, maybe not so big, something in between, a place to go to, somebody to meet or see. And I'd just like you to, I mean, you can do this for everything and anything. I've got friends who sit back and spend time sinking into their heart's truth to decide what restaurant to go to, because they're so passionate about choosing their heart's truth for every single thing that they do. They want to live in absolute truth all the time. That to go to a restaurant, they spend half an hour breathing into their heart to choose. And then when they get to the restaurant, they spend another half an hour deciding what they want to have from their heart's truth from the menu. I've got friends who do that. And I applaud them, because they understand, that we've come so far from being able to do this automatically, that, it's very important for them to live like this. So I'd like to just take you through a simple technique that you can use when choosing heart's truth. And it could be for the simplest things, and it could be for medium-sized things, or it could be for the very big decisions. Yeah. So just make yourselves comfortable. Yen Chan, this will be familiar to you because it's my usual technique. Yeah. But this is specifically to really become aware and remove the blocks of heart's truth. Fear is a big block. Fear of loss, fear of just not making it, choosing the wrong thing. Yeah. So we're just going to address this now. So just sit back, make yourself really comfortable. Take a deep breath in, exhale with an open mouth. We're going to do this breathing in and out with an open mouth. Drop the jaw open. Drop out the belly. Drop the shoulders. Just really soften the body, soften the muscles around the head. Soften the face. Soften the throat. Soften the chest. The heart and the lungs. Just breathe into this space with a big open mouth. A few breaths into the chest, into the heart. Renewing this space on the in-breath and really softening it consciously on the out-breath. So really see the energy softening around the heart and around the lungs as you exhale. And just bring into your mind a decision that you have to take about something. It could be perhaps about something that involves someone. Let's take a medium-sized decision, something that you're not sure which way to go about, but it's not going to be life-changing for now. It's just a medium-sized decision, but you have a bit of uncertainty around it. Just keep softening the body, breathing through an open mouth. Drop the jaw. Just paying attention to this decision. Just drop your focus down into the belly now. And just notice what fears and beliefs you have around this decision. I can't do this because. Yeah, just notice those beliefs. They're just simply beliefs that are in the way. They are blocks that are in the way. I can't do this because they will be upset. Maybe something like that, if it involves another person. I can't do this because maybe I'll miss out on something. What are the beliefs? What are the fears in the way from choosing your heart's truth? It's too soon, maybe. It's too late, maybe. There could be all kinds of beliefs in the way. I'd like to invite you today to just watch them and observe them as simple beliefs and remove the charge that these beliefs have over your decision making. They are simply beliefs. And beliefs are simply thought processes that have been repeated often enough for them to have enough of a charge for us to believe that they are real. But what if today we can see them as simply thought processes that have repeated a little bit too much? And we're going to just look at them as such today. And notice the fear around that belief. So-and-so is going to be angry with me. So-and-so is going to think that I'm selfish. Maybe I think I'm selfish. Maybe I have a fear around looking selfish, being selfish. Maybe they're going to lose trust in me. Maybe I don't trust myself. Anything like that. Just watch and observe. We're not aligning with any of these things today. We're not going to align with them ever again, are we? We're just going to notice that they have crept in, but they don't belong to my heart's truth. And whatever fear there is in the way there, whatever uncomfortable feeling, whatever worry, whatever apprehension, just take a deep breath into that area in your body. Exhale with an open mouth. I release this now on all levels. You can say that to yourselves or out loud. Inhale. I detach from this fear and I release this now on all levels. Keep softening. You may feel a little release. It's important to be really soft here. So wherever you're holding on, wherever there might be a little bit of tension or tightness, just bring awareness. Inhale with an open mouth into this, lots of air. Exhale. What we're doing here is we're removing the fears and the blocks that are in the way from choosing that restaurant or choosing who to see or who to call or when to go to that place, what to wear even. We don't have much fear around choosing a book. So look at those choices where there may be a little bit of apprehension, a little bit of nervousness, worry, and just let go of the worry. Because that's all that there is in the way of your heart's truth. And the way to let go of these worries and uncomfortable feelings that block us from our heart's truth is to simply soften the body. Really soften the body like melting ice cream. Exhale, soften the body. Inhale. Creates expanded space in the energy. Exhale. Let that worry disappear. What will they think of me? Let it go. And just feel the heart's truth beginning to just strengthen, become brighter and warmer. Feel more connected to that. You'll feel stronger. The blocks will remove themselves and you will be left with your heart's truth. And the courage will come when the blocks are removed for you to choose your heart. Inhale, exhale, letting go of anything in the way, any worry, any uncomfortable feeling. Keep doing that until it's all gone. You've softened those areas of tension, of belief that something might go wrong if I choose my heart's truth, that somebody might be disappointed, that I may not be available for so-and-so, that I may be seen as selfish, that perhaps I am selfish. Let all of that go. Using this technique of breathing with an open mouth into a soft body, really relax the body. The softer you are, the easier for all these blocks to just simply dissipate and float out of your system. It's energy we're working with. This is the technique that you can use whenever you feel that there's a block to a heart's truth and you're struggling between choosing your heart's truth and something that you feel you should do. When you're holding yourself back from your heart's truth, this is a technique that you can use. And just stay with yourself with a soft open mouth until you know and have the courage to choose your heart. You can take as long as you like to do this. We're doing this a little speeded up today. Prolong it, draw it out so that you can really relax into your body and let go in that softness of all tension and all energetic blocks to your heart, to what love would do. Deep inhale. Exhale. And just in your own time, come back to the Zoom call. Just rub your hands together. Drop the gaze, if you like, to your lap. Open your eyes when you're ready. And just join me when you're ready. All right. Everybody back? Thumbs up. Okay. I'd just like to ask a simple question. You may or may not have been able to do this today because it was quite a speeded up. Excuse me. Had something in my throat. It was quite a speeded up version of what I would like to invite you to do. Just draw it out, really soften up, and do this when you are not able to choose your heart's truth. And there's some blocks in the way. Sandra, how are you feeling right now? Could you share just very briefly? We haven't got much time left, but I'd love to hear if you were able to just pinpoint something that was a heart's truth that you might have been battling with, a choice that's a bit difficult to make. And do you feel easier in taking that decision now, more courageous, more able to? Or not yet?
I think like really thank you with the exercise just now. I think I'm like fully in it that I got really teary, but not associated with sadness, but it's just more like um when I realized like I getting really teary, I didn't fight to hold back because I realized it was trying to release a lot of blockages.
You're already having a release. That's lovely, sweetie. Yes, just allow the tears to roll. If they do roll, it may just be because you've been holding back on many heart's truths. And, it's just a time to realize, let go of the pain. And then you'll find that those heart's truths are just more easy and clearer. Yeah. Sometimes we can't know our heart's truth because there's so much in the way. It's like, I don't even know what I want, right? Because there's so much fear and pain in the way. So just keep doing that release technique, sweetie. There is a longer version of that if you want a guided version on the Ohana Joe Awake platform. If you scroll down to Ohana Joe on the go and click on my name, there's one meditation there, which is how to release these uncomfortable feelings. And you can do it purposefully with the intention of just becoming clearer on your heart's truths. Great, so you've had a release, and that's what it's all about. Sometimes the release is with tears. Sometimes there's a little bubble that pops up in my body when I have a release. It's like muscles sort of twitching, and sometimes there's a rush of energy. Sometimes there's just a deeper feeling of relaxation. Sometimes you don't notice it. When I started this technique, I couldn't notice the shift, the release, although it was happening. So it takes a bit of practice. But there's some stuff available on the go if you want. Yan Chan, how are you feeling, darling?
I'm feeling really relaxed. But it's quite conflicting because I'm also consciously thinking what I'm going to get on with for the rest of my day. So it's
Yes.
I think I'm just it's also the monkey mind as well, just trying to just relax that little monkey mind of mine.
Yes.
So all these thoughts, just trying to block it all out. But I do feel a lot relaxed. I'm not worried so much. So.
Yeah, it's perhaps not the most ideal time for you to do this, Yan Chan, because you're like me. You're at 2:30 or coming up to 2:30, and we're still in the middle of our day. Sandra is in Malaysia, so you're winding down. We've still got stuff to do and what have you. So yes, so maybe practice it another time, sweetie, when it might work better for you. And like I say, it's on the go platform, Ohana Joe on the go. Just scroll down. There's a long version of that, and use it. Use it to clear anything in the way of a decision that you're finding difficult to make, that you feel, is really important. Okay, so I'm going to come to a closing now. I just want to recap then that the 3 key eye openers that we've shared today. Key eye opener 1 is choose your heart's truth. Yeah. It's really important to choose what we want. It's really all that matters, actually, because it is actually our highest truth. Like I said, is the same. It's the highest truth for others. Yeah. So choose your heart's truth. Allow yourself time to remove the blocks. Yeah. Yeah. And know that it's not a selfish act. On the contrary, it's a gift. Yeah. It's a gift because everybody benefits, even though it doesn't look like to the judging mind. Yeah. Trust that the heart knows better. The heart knows better how to live life, really, tell you the truth. We kind of like God, or God, like they go, oh, I can do this, yeah, I'm God, But actually, God's in the heart. Love knows the better pathways. So I just want to share my last secret with you. What we're doing when we're choosing our heart's truth is something that, I've been to workshops on and I try to figure out how, I can do this. But when you choose constantly from your heart's truth, or as much as possible, you're becoming the conscious creator of your life. And that's what we've all been wanting, right? We've always wanted to just be able to create our lives consciously. Yeah. When you choose your heart's truth, you are doing that. You are becoming the conscious creator of your life. How cool, yeah? Because the heart knows. When you choose your heart, you're choosing with consciousness. You're choosing with love. You're choosing the quickest way to happiness. Yeah. When we choose with our heart's truth, we become conscious human beings. This is a direct path to the fancy word enlightenment, to conscious choosing, to consciousness. A lot of the time, what we choose in our mind is all a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy, and there's a bit of a mess in there. But when we choose from our heart, we're choosing consciously. We're choosing love. And when we live from love, we will enjoy our lives a lot more. So we really are becoming the conscious creators of our lives. And what we do as well, and this is an experience that I've had since Terry and I have taken this heart's truth choice to be on the other side of the world from each other, we've actually inspired many other people to choose their heart's truths in their relationships. So you inspire others, because it takes great courage. You become an inspiration to others. So it's uplifting all around, you see. Wow, you did that. That's amazing. How many times have you heard people do amazing things and choose their heart's truth? You go, wow, that's amazing. And you've been encouraged to do something amazing as well. Yeah, it's like that. So we inspire others to do the same. And so eventually, everyone is choosing their heart's truth. So in fact, what we're doing is we're becoming the conscious creators of a world of love. Everybody becomes those choosing their heart's truths. And we become conscious participants in creating a world of love. We choose heart's truths. We're putting everybody else in their truth. They begin to choose heart's truth because they're inspired by our courage and our ability to do it. Yeah. Imagine the knock-on effect. Imagine a world where everybody's choosing their heart's truth. I'm going to leave you with this one. Spend some time imagining a world where everybody is choosing their heart's truth. Job done, right? There would be no more horrid stuff going on anywhere. We would be happy. So be an example. Be the conscious creator of your life and be an inspiration to others. At the end of the day, we have to, because we have to do it for ourselves, because we've already spoken about the cost of not doing it is horrendous. And likewise, the cost of not doing it has an awful repercussion on everything else. Doing it has that wonderful knock-on effect on everybody else too. Energy affects energy, and it affects everything. So when we're choosing love, when we're choosing our heart's truth, we're benefiting everybody, including ourselves. So everybody wins. I get to have my cake and eat it. This is that one scenario, which can be every scenario in your life, because you can make every choice from your heart's truth. You can go to that restaurant and choose that cake and eat it. And everybody can share in it. How cool is that? This is a true win-win scenario. It is not selfish. It is self-love. Everybody wins, because everybody gets to experience their truth when you choose yours. I'm going to leave you with that. Unless you have any questions or anything burning that you want to share or anything at all. Are we good to go?
I have no question, but just want to say really thank you for tonight's session. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my dear. I'm so
Yeah,
happy
thank
to
you,
be able to
Rosalind.
share this. You're welcome, Adam. I'm so happy to have you on my call. A real pleasure, real pleasure. It's my heart's truth to be right here. It really is. It took me quite a long time to choose this one as well, because I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm a fraud. Nobody's going to take me seriously, and all kinds of blocks. And I had to deal with those blocks. I've been healing them over the time. And now I can live my heart's truth, which is to do these calls. There's another example. Keep choosing your heart's truths, beloveds. Love you so much. And if it's in your heart's truth to join me on Friday or on Monday again, I'll see you then. Bye for now. Love you so much.